Hello, Phil Croshaw here again from Passions, and in this episode we're going north of the border to Bonnie, Scotland to talk to Jim Simonette. And Jim is working with young people to improve their lives through football. Enjoy. Well, good morning and a very warm welcome to this edition of Passions. And I'm thrilled today to be joined by possibly our first Scot, actually, on the show. It's James Simonette, and I've been trying to get that pronunciation right for a little while now, but hopefully I've not done Jim any offence with that. So, Jim, very warm welcome to Chat to Passions. Tell us who you are, what your passion is.
Well, I'm James Simonette, and my passion is football. Great passion for the club that is known as Celtic Football Club. But through the years, I've grown to have a great passion for youth. So my passion is music as well. Love music. So I think the two go hand in hand, don't they? You know, music and football go hand in hand. There's some pop rock stars or performers that would like to become footballers, and there's footballers that would like to become singers and pop and rock stars. Would you agree? So I think we all fit in a wee bit of that together. We want a voice. We're songs. We want a voice. We're football and the passion that comes with it, regardless of what football team you support, Phil. So my passion is football and music.
Wonderful. And I think that's very, very true, that, isn't it? About the rock stars want to be footballers and footballers want to be rock stars. I've seen that before. I've seen people interviewed on that basis before. So obviously, I don't think it's unfair to say that as English people, as football fans, as English people, we are always inspired and amazed at the level of passion that there is for Scottish football, in particular the Rangers and Celtic thing.
Well, what we've got is Celtic supporters and Rangers supporters both are very passionate towards their clubs. One believes one's greater and better than the other. So depends where you're sitting and who you're speaking to. Obviously, the Celtic support will tell you they're the greatest, and which we are, and Rangers supporters would tell you otherwise. But you know, one of our patrons is one of the greatest Rangers players ever, and his name's Willie Henderson, who was a dear friend of the great Jimmy Johnstone. Both of them loved each other. Now, on the field, they were arch rivals, but off the park, they loved each other and great friends. And that is still to this day with Celtic supporters and Rangers supporters. When the game comes, there's friends from both sides, and which are the good side of the support. So I think that's wonderful. And Jimmy Johnstone, which will come on to, his academy is opened to everyone, and is the logo behind the states, everybody belongs here, and we're the same. Everybody belongs here. Everybody belongs at Celtic Football Club, regardless of what creed, whatever you may be. Togetherness is important.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic, and a very good, a really good way of looking at the world, I have to say, especially in these strange and crazy times. So tell me a little bit about the background then. So how did you come to, was Jimmy a friend of yours? And tell me the story behind how this all came to be.
Yes, Jimmy, he was a hero first and foremost. So a guy called Willie Hockey asked me to go out and have a wee look and see how we could help Jimmy Johnstone. Willie Hockey was a dear friend of Jimmy Johnston's as well. So when I went out, I was going out with the intention, first and foremost, that I was going to meet my hero. Now, when I walked through his door, the hero was there in front of me. But very, very quickly, when I got to know the man became different from the legend and from the hero that he is and was to millions. Do you understand? He was fantastic. So I found out that very quickly why he would become the greatest Celtic player ever and why he was voted the greatest Celtic player ever. I learned that he had this unique way of his door was always open to fans who would come and knock on it. Now at this time, Jimmy was suffering in the early stages of a most dreadful disease called motor neuron disease. So as that took over him, he became more and more and more inviting for others to understand how the importance of togetherness should be. There started our friendship. So as a young boy growing up, he was my hero. He was my family's hero. But in the last 4 years of his life, he became a friend. And I became a friend to him. And I'm very honoured that I became a friend and he wasn't just the hero and the legend that I knew as Jimmy Johnstone, who played for Celtic.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely wonderful. So if you were looking at then, if you were writing a kind of I suppose, his biography, what elements would you say then, Jim, stood out to you in terms of how he was and became the greatest player?
He was, first of all, he was an entertainer. He entertained the fans because he was one of the fans. He was a Celtic supporter. He loved the fans. He was a bit like Muhammad Ali. He was the people's champion of Celtic because he cared. He knew what it meant to get the result. He knew what it meant for people who'd been working hard all week back in the days when there was no money and not very many job opportunities. He knew that if they went and watched Celtic, he had to entertain, and he wanted to entertain, and he loved it. Now, Jimmy wanted to be a singer, and he loved singing. That was him and the great, a guy called Frankie Miller. You know Frankie? You heard of Frankie Miller?
Yes.
Yeah. So he loved Frankie. Other rock stars, Bono, U2, they all know of Jimmy Johnstone, Rod Stewart, all the way through. Robert Duvall, when he met him, said that he's never met anyone, a character like him. Never met anybody like him. Robert Duvall actually called his wee dog, Jinky, after Jimmy Johnstone. So he's known throughout the world, and he will be forever known as time goes on with new generations of Celtic supporters, with football supporters. But on the park, he was majestic. He was magic. He was magnificent. The way he would twist, the way he would turn, the way he would jink, he would glide by people. Di Stefano asked him to come and join in the after banquet after the 1967 Real Madrid game to go join Puskas, Santamaria, Hento for a photograph. And they says, "You belong with us." He absolutely destroyed Real Madrid in 1967, single-handed, where the Real Madrid players would back off. It didn't go to him. So that was 1967, just after Celtic became historical and being the first British team to ever win the European Cup, to be the first non-Latin team to win the European Cup. And 11 guys, 16 guys, let's not forget the whole pool, all within a 22-mile radius of the great city of Glasgow. So how magnificent is that? Can that ever be achieved again? I don't think so. I don't think so. So there was Celtic. Celtic became the Pied Pipers of British football, where everybody followed the great teams that's won the European Cup. Manchester United, Liverpool, so on and so on and so on. So there's Jimmy Johnstone in a small nutshell, but it's massive. There's so many stories about him on the park and how against Red Star Belgrade they lost the footage. Now the average footballer is on the ball for 2 minutes in a game. Jinky was on the ball for 22 minutes or more that night because Mr. Steen promised him he wouldn't need to fly to the away game. But anyway, Celtic won that night in Europe. So there's lots of stories about Jimmy. He also, Fabergé made an egg of him as well, him and George Best. He was the first living person to get a Fabergé egg. He was back in '67 as well. He was nominated for the Ballon d'Or, and he became third in that. So it's endless. The stories are endless. But the thing about Jimmy Johnstone is welcoming, and how he embraced not just the Celtic support, everybody that he spoke to. And when you met Jimmy, he had this magnetism that drew you to him, and you wanted to hear him, whether it be singing or whether you wanted to watch him playing football. It's something that comes along very rarely in life. There's certain stars in the music industry that we all go to look at. There's certain stars and people within sport that we go, wow. Whatever it may be, writing, film, or whatever. Jimmy Johnstone, I reckon, is in that category.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing. So really what we're talking about here as it happens then is his passion and your passion, two passions together. Would you say that current modern day football, is it fair to say that depth of passion for playing for your club has potentially been lost a lot of the time now, with the way in which players just move around? It's a global sport, or is it still around?
I don't think, this is only my opinion, I don't think it is. Maybe with certain players at the top, maybe you look at Messi, Ronaldo and so on, but within the game at the moment, I don't think they've got the passion. I don't think they understand the supporters' passion. They come along and they get paid well, they get paid handsomely. The fans, do they get value for money? I don't think they do. I'm talking from a Celtic supporter's point of view. We're going for at the time of this recording, we were going for 10 league championships in a row. Will that be achievable? I don't think it will. But you never know. Have they got the passion? Have they got the commitment? Do they know the way? Do they know how it feels to be a supporter of the club that they play for? Or do they just know what it's like to take the money at the end of the week or the end of the month? Now, that's possibly the same way all clubs, but I'm talking about my experiences. You must have the passion for the people that you play for. You must have a dedication to the vision and the dreams of your supporters that you're playing for. That's the importance. It's like a good singer songwriter. Their fans are waiting for the next one that's been written. They're still looking for that to be good. They don't want it to be not as good as the one they had before. They're always looking to be better and better. I don't know. I think the days of the Lisbon Lions and the teams of the 70s and the 80s, the people's teams, so to speak, including your own, I think they're all gone. It's a money-making industry, and maybe that's the right thing for them, but it's not the right thing for me as a supporter, and I love to see them entertained.
Yeah, I think that a lot of football supporters, particularly slightly more senior football supporters like myself as well, would agree with you on that, because we've seen the difference. So talk to me then about the legacy, because you mentioned that you were a friend. Obviously, he was suffering from this awful disease. Can you remember the time when you had a conversation about what you might be able to do in terms of his supporting his legacy? And what did that turn out to be?
Yeah, well, I was a coach at Clyde Football Club at the time. Actually, Billy Reid was there as well at the same time as myself. He's now the assistant manager at Brighton, isn't he? So Billy, we were there together, and that's the time that I was visiting Jimmy, looking after him, doing various things round about. And then Billy left, and Graham Roberts came in, and I decided that I'd possibly want to go away for professional youth football after speaking to Jimmy, and then we started getting kids together for Jimmy. Jimmy wanted a football tournament, which was he had never had, or any of them had. So we pulled that together, and he came along to that, and he stood and watched it with the help of the great Bertie Auld, the great Joe McBride, the great Willie O'Neill. They all stood together watching their legends, their Lisbon Lions, their European Cup winners. They achieved 9 in a row. They achieved 6, 7 Scottish Cups, League Cups, so on, so on, so on. And they're watching these young kids. And see, when you had to see the passion that was in their face watching the kiddies playing, I went, this is for me. I'm coming away for that, and let's help the kids for the schemes. Let's help the kids from different areas get together. So Jimmy, after it, he said, I'd like you to keep that wee team together, Simmy. He called me Simmy. And see what we can do with them. And see if we can cultivate a relationship with them. And see if we can find someone who can achieve more in football than I did. I'll be delighted. So that was the start of it. Now, we pulled these kids together who people possibly at that time says, oh, they're not going to make it, they're not going to do this, they're not going to become professional footballers. So we had them within this unit, and we worked with them, Well, that team and that group of kids, unfortunately, Jimmy never saw it because he passed away. They went on to win Scottish Cups, League Cups, international youth tournaments, and some of them went on to play professional football. Some of them went on to become, and some of them, most of them all, have all come on to become young, fine, decent young men. So they're around about 26 years of age now. So following on from that, we've had thousands upon thousands of kids come to a place called Cathkin Park, a historical football park in Glasgow. Playing under the name of Jimmy Johnstone, kids would come. So today, there's about 32,000 kids, youth players that came to this park and played over 10, 11 years. All right? So from that, we integrated 26 nationalities. 26 nationalities all coming together to play for the name of Jimmy Johnstone, all at different age groups, right enough. But the magnificent pool that it had and still has is wonderful. So over the years, 24 have progressed to professional football. No, a magnificent story. We were invited down to Windsor to play against Windsor and Eton by a guy called Jeff Healy, who made the film Lord of the Wing, which is a movie about Jimmy. And he says, you must bring a Jimmy Johnstone team down to Windsor. So we weren't going to come down, but we went down and we played in the grounds of Windsor and Eton. There it was, these kids for Glasgow, and there's the castle in the background. You can picture it, can't you?
Yeah.
There it is. There it is. And anyway, we beat them. We beat Wednesday night. The hospitality was the hospitality was fantastic. And this old gentleman comes up to me and he said, "Excuse me, can I have a word with you?" I said, "Yes." And he starts to get emotional. And he says, "I love Jimmy Johnstone." I says, "Yep, definitely." He says, "And I've not been to Celtic Park in years, 20 plus years, but I run a wee team. I run a team down here. Is there any chance you could play us tomorrow?" Now, this is how strange fate is and destiny is. I said, "I'm really sorry, but I've got to get back up the road with the kids. Well, we're preparing for the Rangers International Youth Tournament. So I've got to get back up the road." He says, "You've no idea what it would mean to me." So we're walking towards the clubhouse. And I says, "Come and we'll get some gifts here that we'll be able to give you." And he's walking beside me, and I could feel it coming from him. I says, "I'll tell you what, we'll play you. We'll ask Jeff if we can play here tomorrow, but it must be at 10 a.m. so we're back up the road." So we do. So he turns up, and he's got 11 players. This kid scores a fantastic goal. This kid, attitude and passion. I went, "Wow, look at that. Look at that." So I invited the kid up to Glasgow. And he says to me, that Alex says, "Have you got the right boy?" I says, "Yeah." He said, "He's a sub. Can I get again?" He said, "We had him out his bed this morning." I said, "That's all right." So we speak to his mother. She says, "No, you must have the wrong boy." Anyway, we drive up the road, and I got a phone call from his uncle. "You got the right player?" I says, "Yes." Anyway, the boy comes up to Glasgow, flies up to Glasgow on the Tuesday, comes up, and the rest is history. He went on to play for Glasgow Celtic. Darnell Fisher, young English boy.
Wow.
Yeah. So at the moment he's playing for Preston North End. But what a story. Now, was that meant to be? Of course it was. Of course it was. We weren't meant to play that team, but we played them. We played them, and there came together Darnell Fisher, the Jimmy Johnstone Academy, and he went on and he's won a league championship medal. He was voted Young Celtic Player of the Year, a Scottish Cup, You've got Scottish Cup, League Cup, and so on. So there's a great story for Jimmy's legacy. Did we achieve what he wanted to achieve? We've helped kids get into work. His legacy continues today that we work with people with dementia, which is a very important issue in the world today. Very important to me. I didn't understand it when my father passed away with dementia in 2003. And when you see these people coming and they look at Jimmy, they look at a photo of Jimmy in the wall, or they look at some photos of other footballers, the memories that come flooding back is second to none. We help within mental health issues, people with mental health issues. We help in the community, food banks, collective food banks. One of the great things, UEFA came to us and asked if we would get together with them and do a pilot scheme called Go Football, where kids in the area, to get them in the summer to come along and get them playing and feed them at lunchtime. Well, we've done that. Again, UEFA could not believe that we managed to get 14 different nationalities all sitting down together, eating together. How wonderful is that? If that could have and can progress to adults for different nationalities all sitting down together and discussing the ways of the world and how to help the world. Fantastic. UEFA then asked us to get involved in a fantastic program which Saul, he's got himself hooked on this. He likes it. They ask us, would we become involved with freedom from torture? What is freedom from torture? I said, it's people who in their countries have been tortured mentally, physically, who have now seeked asylum. How can we help them? But here's the problem we've got. Again, they're different nationalities. So how do we bring the different cultures and religions in together? Football. The passion of football. Freedom from torture. Said, yep, let's go for it. So with freedom from torture, Bemis, UEFA Foundation, Scottish Football, SFA, the Scottish Football Association, and the great Jimmy Johnstone's Charitable Trust got together. So us and Arsenal Football Club started to do this. And at the beginning, it was very, very difficult for us. Arsenal, they're further down the road. But what a compliment and what an honour for Jimmy Johnstone Charitable Trust to be asked in Scotland ahead of other organisations. Absolutely fantastic. So it was difficult at the beginning. But then Jimmy said a magic word, if we can remember it back when we started with the first kids. Cultivate a relationship and you'll do okay. And that's what we've done. We embraced, we welcomed, we got them together, we made them feel part, we gave them the Jimmy Johnstone kit. Everybody was one. Everybody belonged here at Jimmy Johnstone Academy. Jimmy Johnstone Academy Charitable Trust, just like Jimmy's house, through the years, everybody was welcome to come. And that's very, very important. The people who carry this work out for Jimmy Johnstone in the background that maybe people don't see, the people who help us and sponsor us, fantastic. Freedom from torture, regardless of what colour or what country you come from, these people are doing a fantastic job. So delighted and honoured to be part of that.
Do you know, Jim, what jumps out at me? There was loads of things that jump out at me about that and the story and everything else. But what also I notice is there must have been, and throughout the whole process, there must have been, leadership must have taken a key part of achieving everything that you've achieved. Would you say that's true? And what would you say are the key characteristics of the best leaders in that scenario?
Leaders have got to have motivation. They've got to have self-motivation when everything else round about them maybe not motivated. They've got to be seen to motivate the staff. Even in defeat, you can't have division in defeat. You must have unity, and it's important to have unity in defeat. If things are not going well on the park, you've got to come together. Someone's got to take control. That person may be the person with the passion, the willingness and the understanding and how to lead others. Good leaders lead by respect. They lead by respect. By that I mean you don't need to be an authoritarian. You can be like water, my friend. You can flow. You can flow. We can either be an oak tree or we can be a willow tree. In the storm, the willow will survive and the oak tree will not survive in the storm. Like way back in England in '88, you might be too young to remember that, I'm not. All the oak trees are down all over Britain. The willow tree still stood. Why? Because of the flexibility, because of being able to adapt and be like water.
That's just amazing.
Always flowing.
That's fantastic. That is brilliant. I was fortunate enough to be able to interview Sam Allardyce, obviously now at West Brom, a few years ago.
Yeah.
And one of the things that he said was he had seen many, many, many young, talented kids or younger people never actually break through, not because they didn't have the talent, but because they didn't have the correct mindset. Is that something that sounds
Correct.
familiar to you?
Oh yes, yes. You've got to have the mindset. You must have the mindset. You must have the attitude. You must have heart intelligence working together with your intellectual intelligence. When the both of them accelerate together, whether it be in broadcasting, whether it be in football, or whatever other part of business, whatever you do, see if you've got the both of them, then there's nothing to stop you. You must have the attitude. Young footballers today, you look at it, you're lucky if 0.45% in 1 year make it. So it might take us, in Scotland, you've got 2,500 roughly young players within the Scottish youth professional setup. You'll be lucky if one player makes it per year. Why? Why is it going wrong? Is it the kids? Or is it the peers? Is it the leaders? Are you just in there to wear a badge? Got a lovely letter from Sam Allardyce to Jimmy Johnstone, incidentally.
Tell me about that.
7 letters. I left it. Well, what happened? This gentleman took it and he says he would like to go out and contact the world of football for people to come back with letters. And they did. So we've got letters from 7 England managers at how Jimmy Johnstone was an inspiration. The great Graham Souness back as well. The letter that he used to, as a boy, used to watch Jimmy Johnstone and how he inspired him. Kevin Keegan, Arsene Wenger.
Wow.
Sir Alex Ferguson, Her Majesty the Queen and his contributions to football, His Holiness the Pope. The letters are endless. They're endless. So that shows you how big he reached out. Now, if we go back to the kids, they need to get this certain attitude that they want to succeed, and they've not just got the trappings. I'm not saying every kid's got the trappings of wealth or maybe a middle class or whatever, but to become a great footballer, you've got to be hungry, regardless of what you've got. Even if you've not got anything. When I grew up, nothing. We grew up in the poorest areas of Glasgow. We had nothing. We had to work our way out with a strong-minded mother and a strong-minded father who helped guide us. So maybe that's what we need to do with youth. Hope for youth is a very important thing, and that's what Jimmy Johnstone wanted. Are we nearly there? I don't think we are. We're part of the journey, but it's a long, long journey. But we must bend in the road to suit each other and how we go forward. So I would like to think that a leader has got inspiration, vision, passion, and respect for others round about them. Whether you be a male leader or a female leader, both are important. It's very, very important. You listen to the young lady when she spoke in the poem for Joe Biden in the presidential speech there in the inauguration. How wonderful was that? But she had to have heart intelligence. She had to have understanding. She rolled with it. She was passionate, and how she delivered it was fantastic, in my opinion. I thought she was wonderful.
Yeah, I have to say that in all honesty, and I'm sure I suspect you're quite a humble man, actually, is my instinct. But I have to say that when I hear you talk and the passion in which you talk about what you do and what you've done and the kids and everything else, there's absolutely I'm not at all surprised that you've achieved what you've achieved and continue to achieve. And I think what it demonstrates more than anything else is that if you've got the passion and then you take the action, massive action, amazing things can happen. And it was interesting hearing you tell the story about going down to Windsor. And I always say to people, because I'm also a business coach and consultant, and I often say to clients, if you do interesting things, very often interesting things happen. And I think it's fair to say that going down to Windsor was a very interesting thing to do.
Yeah, definitely. And do you know as well, I'm very fortunate in life that I've met the ordinary man in the street, which I am. I've met businessmen, businesswomen. I've met rock stars to the highest, who have achieved the highest accomplishments in their trades. Millionaires, billionaires. Do you know what we do? Treat everybody the same. It doesn't matter what you've got or where you're from. Treat everybody the same. And if that comes from you, that aura comes from you as an individual, you will get that back in abundance. It's called karma as well. What you give out is an echo of your voice, it comes back to you. Good deeds. Even if good deeds don't go your way at time, still do your best to give out a good deed. And always think good people.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, well, coming to the end, it's a shame we're coming to the end because there's so much more we can talk about. But what I would suggest is that one of the key elements of watching people, leadership and buying into people is charisma. And one of the things I notice, and again, I don't want to embarrass you, but one of the things that comes across so strong from you is your passion and your charisma. And it's one of those things that's hard to get hold of, isn't it? Charisma. You can't kind of package it, and it's just sometimes it just exudes out of people, probably driven by those passionate feelings and perspectives.
Yeah. My life changed when I had an aneurysm as well. And I looked at life a wee bit different than I did before it 3 years ago. Now I look at it and I say, see all the things that I can do good with. That's what I want to do. Passion and charisma is important, and everybody's got it. All they've got to do is let it go and let it come out. They've all got it. Everybody's got it. So it's not just me, but everybody. So if everybody has that passion and charisma for each other, how great would this world be? It would be fantastic. It would be a better place. So what the concert that's going to be going out in the 28th and the 29th, am I right?
29th of January 2021, yeah.
Yeah, what a fantastic thing that's all and these people are doing. So fantastic. But that's a nice compliment. Thank you very much.
Well, it's just how it is. I mean, being an English Northerner, I just say it how I see it, and sometimes it's a little bit uncomfortable because we don't take praise easily. Certainly, the British generally don't take praise easily, but it doesn't make it any less true what I've just said. Been on the receiving end of that, so that's really fantastic. And yes, Passions, as you possibly know, supporting the Music Feeds online festival on the 28th and 29th of January, which we're very, very pleased and very proud to be involved in. Okay, Jim, I'm going to have to call it a day there, otherwise we could be on for another 7 hours. There's no doubt about that. So thanks very much for joining me today. I really, really, really appreciate it. And do you know what? If you ever decide to write a book, let me know, because I'll certainly buy it.
Definitely. And I would like to thank yourself and everybody else for giving us the opportunity to speak about the great, the wonderful, the magnificent Jimmy Johnstone. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's now recorded, digitally recorded forever.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining me, Jim. Take care, mate, and have a great day.
God bless. Take care.
Bye for now.